Hey, it's John. Welcome back to my channel, and today I've got a little video for you about the southern extension of the Hokuriku Shinkansen from Kanazawa to Suruga on the west coast of Japan. Construction began on this extension back in 2012, and it is scheduled to be open sometime in 2023. This is the third of 4 extensions to connect Takasaki and Osaka with an alternative route to the original, yet near capacity, Tokaido Shinkansen. On my last trip to Japan in May of 2019, I got to see some of the line's construction up close, so I wanted to make a video explaining the history of the line and how Shinkansen routes are constructed in the 21st century. Also, keep in mind that this isn't the only extension of the Shinkansen network currently being built. Construction on the Nagasaki Shinkansen between Nagasaki City and Takeo Onsen began in 2008, and the line is scheduled to be open in 2023 as well. This segment will be isolated from the rest of the Shinkansen network until a future extension is built between Takeo Onsen and Shintosu. The other Shinkansen line under construction is the Chuo Shinkansen between Tokyo and Nagoya. This line will be different from the other Shinkansen lines because it will use a superconductive maglev system rather than a conventional steel wheel on-rail train. Japan is certainly not back down from investing in their rail network. The first section of the Hokuriku Shinkansen opened on October 1st, 1997. It was built in preparation for the 1998 Winter Olympic Games in Nagano, and it was originally referred to as the Nagano Shinkansen. The new line did much more than simply provide a high-speed train connection to ski resort areas. The line provided a bypass to, and led to the subsequent abandonment of, the conventional line through the Yasui Mountain Pass. I'm going to make an entire video on the Yasui Pass in the future, but as a brief backstory, the line connected Yokokawa in the east and Karuizawa in the west. This line was originally opened in 1893 and used a rack system to traverse the 6.7% grade. The rack system was discontinued when the line was rebuilt in 1963 when new locomotives, the JNR EF63s, were introduced to ferry trains up and down the mountain. When the Nagano Shinkansen opened in 1997, train service was discontinued between Yokokawa and Karuizawa, and a museum, the Yasui Toge Railway Cultural Village, now sits on the site of the former locomotive depot. Between 1997 and 2015, Nagano was the western terminus of the Nagano Shinkansen. The line was later extended on March 14, 2015 to Kanazawa and renamed the Hokuriku Shinkansen to reflect the Hokuriku region that the line served. The line is jointly owned and operated by JR East and JR West. The rolling stock used on the line are near identical E7 and W7 train sets, which are each owned by their respective companies. I believe that trains east of Nagano are operated by JR East crews, and trains operating west of Nagano are run by employees of JR West. The introduction of the 12-car E7 train sets in 2014 meant that station platforms on the former Nagano Shinkansen had to be lengthened from their previous 8-car lengths. Also, as a quick side note, between October 12th and October 25th, 2019, service on the Hokuriku Shinkansen was suspended between Nagano and Joetsu Myoko due to damage caused by Typhoon Hagibis. Damage to the line's signaling system occurred, as well as flooding damage to the train yard in Nagano, which resulted in a total loss of 8 E7s and 2 W7 train sets. Just to illustrate the resiliency of the Shinkansen system, despite losing a third of the line's rolling stock and over $1 billion in damage, the line was restored to operating at 96% of pre-storm levels in less than 2 weeks. And New York City is still repairing damage caused by Hurricane Sandy. On this last trip to Japan, my brother and I only had a week, so we decided that as this was the last leg of a long vacation, we wouldn't plan a very detailed itinerary. With virtually the entire Japanese rail network at our disposal, we would see where the trip would take us. After spending a couple of days in Osaka, we didn't feel like going straight to Tokyo. As we had visited the Yasui Toge Railway Park on 2 previous trips, we decided to see what the resort town of Karuizawa was actually like. To get there, we would take a Thunderbird limited express train from Osaka to Kanazawa, where we could pick up the Shinkansen into Karuizawa. Most limited express trains in Japan have an elevated driver's cab at one end of the train so that 2 trains can be paired together. Now, as the Hokuriku main line is loosely followed by the future Hokuriku Shinkansen, I got to see several areas of the line's construction between Sabe and Kanazawa. The section of the line between Suruga and Sabe includes many tunnels, and it's not visible from the Hokuriku main line. The first evidence of construction that I saw was as we approached the Fukui station from the south, which is one of 6 Shinkansen stations under construction. As we pass through the rail yard, you can see that a path for the new viaduct that will be built over the yard is being cleared. Just before we enter Fukui Station, more work is visible. Progress is much further along as we approach the Kaga Onsen station. You can see that crews are about to begin construction on the platforms here. And the same thing with the northern end of the station. In this clip, you get a good view of how the Shinkansen viaduct is not a uniform chain of repeated structures. There's a lot of variation in the viaduct sections, and different construction methods are used to build them. A single viaduct can be made up of a mix of precast concrete girders and cast-in-place sections, depending on the length of the sections, seismic loads, and other factors. Here we are approaching the Komatsu station, and yes, that's where the name comes from. As you can see, the Shinkansen side of the station is not as far along as it was at Kaga Onsen. On the north side of the station, however, the surface of the viaduct is already being finished, and catenary poles have been erected. So here, the future Shinkansen tracks cross over the conventional line to maintain a straighter path. At the time of this video, the most recent Google Earth photo of Fukui was from 2015, but in this image of Komatsu, you can clearly see the path of the future line, as this photo was taken in 2017. As the conventional line curves, the future Shinkansen line crosses back overhead, maintaining its 4,000 meter minimum radius. As we approach the Kaga-Kasama station, the Shinkansen viaduct begins to run parallel to the Hokuriku main line. Here the viaduct is nearing completion as we approach the Shinkansen Depo, which is currently in use. Although I totally failed at filming the depot, you can just make out evidence of it in the background. The depot is approximately 8 miles south of the current terminus at Kanazawa, so obviously the last 8 miles of the future extension have been in service since the extension opened in 2015. This track at ground level is the entrance to the Shinkansen depot. And as we're riding a limited express train, here you can see us passing through the Nishi Kanazawa station. Once we reached Kanazawa, we changed from the Thunderbird Limited Express to the Hokuriku Shinkansen. The Limited Express train was nice, but you really can't beat the experience of riding the Shinkansen. We sat in first class and were able to enjoy what, in my opinion, is the best high-speed train service in the world. Japan certainly doesn't have the largest high-speed rail network in the world, but they have the most successful in terms of ridership and profitability. Since the Tokaido Shinkansen began operating in 1964, the system has been refined and improved, creating one of the most advanced transportation systems on the planet. By the time the Hokuriku Shinkansen is completed in the 2040s, Tokyo and Osaka will be connected by 2 different high-speed train lines and 1 superconductive maglev line. I'm glad I was able to witness a portion of this system under construction, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you all soon.